On the way home, I replayed everything that had happened in my head. The pain was tearing me apart. She wasn't even drunk, just a little tipsy, but she looked me straight in the eye and lied, quoting Rod Stewart that she needed to use the bathroom. And then she walked out the door to spend the night in bed with a football player. Just like that. Actions speak louder than words, and she said A, that she had found someone better to go home with, and B, that I didn't deserve her telling me she was leaving me. Oh, how it hurt. Everyone who saw how humiliated and broken I was when she cheated on me right in front of me wondered what I was going to do. Hell, even I wondered that myself. I had no idea. What could I do? Not much, I thought. Except that my boss from the regional office called me right before I left early for the party. Big news. He had just been promoted to vice president at the head office, and he called to offer me his job. Wow, excited isn't even close to describing how I felt. I had worked in that position for 7 years, putting in long hours to earn that promotion. I told him I needed to talk to my wife because it meant moving to the company's regional office in Freudenberg. I didn't think it would be a problem, but I planned to discuss it with Linda over the weekend after we made up for the Valentine's Day celebration that was canceled due to snow. But Linda's departure from the left side of the stage made the decision obvious. Linda who? On the way home, I called Mrs. Porter and told her I had come up with something and would pick up the kids tonight. Then I called Linda's parents and told them I would bring the kids over. "Why, what happened?" asked her father, an avid Lavalier fan. "Linda dumped me tonight for your idol, Mark Lavalier. Right now she's in bed with him, having sex." "What? Are you kidding?" "Oh, I wish it were a joke. No, it was all her idea, Dad." Trying not to let my voice shake, I told him what had happened at the dance, how she had lied to me about going to the bathroom and left with his idol. "If you don't believe me, you can check for yourself. She's not with me or the kids, and she's not at home even though her car is there. If you call her, she won't answer because she turned off her phone. Oh, and if anything happens to one of your grandchildren, there's no way to contact her. What kind of mother does that? One of her friends told me he'd bring her back tomorrow at any time. Wet and wilted like a used tea bag, I imagine. Apparently he does this all the time. I think someone told me that Linda is his 27th or 28th willing victim. If you want, you can wait outside her house and witness it, maybe even get his autograph." No one responded, only muffled voices when he relayed the gist of the conversation to his wife. Continuing, I said, "Since I don't know how long your hero is going to continue doing nasty things to your daughter, I'm not going to stay there, so I'll pick up the kids and bring them to you. Linda obviously doesn't give a damn about them. I'm already on my way to the babysitter's, so expect me in about 20 minutes. Mrs. Porter had already gathered the children. "Jim, what happened?" Hearing my abbreviated version, she covered her mouth with her hand. "I can't believe it." With each repetition, my pain subsided, replaced by growing anger. "Me neither, ma'am, me neither. As you can imagine, I don't know when she'll be done with her new boyfriend and pick up the kids tomorrow, so I want to take them to her parents' house before it's too late." I left her a large tip and drove away. "Where's Mom?" Emma asked, waking up. What could I say? Since we had taught them that honesty was the best policy, I decided to stick to the facts and said, "Mom left with another man to go to his house. I'm very hurt. I want you to know that I'm very sorry, but I love you very much and will never, ever stop loving you both." "No!" "Dad, please don't go." She tried to break free from her car seat. "I don't want to, sweet potato, believe me. But right now we have to do everything we can." To say that Linda's parents gave me the cold shoulder would be an understatement, but by that point, anger had overtaken my pain, and I didn't care what they thought. Without saying a word, I handed them the crying Emma and the sleeping Tommy and drove away without waiting for them to start yelling at me. Their daughter cheated on me and I'm the bad guy? I don't think so, Tim. When I got home, I went to the bar and closed it right away. I still hadn't answered the important question. What was I going to do? Alcohol might have comforted me, but it wouldn't have clarified the situation, and I needed a clear head. I made some coffee to keep myself awake, poured a cup, and went to my study. While the computer was booting up, I shook my head, thinking about how that self-centered bitch was tormenting her children. My attention was drawn to a letter from work offering me a new position. Of course, Linda hadn't given me a chance to tell her about the offer at that moment. She was probably in bed, so I didn't expect her to answer, but I called just in case. No, voicemail. Ignoring it, I slowly typed a text message that she would see tomorrow, if she wanted to. When you read this, I'll be gone. The fact that you looked me in the eye and lied before leaving with your new sexual partner tells me that I'm no longer good enough for you. Actions speak louder than words. Fine. I'll make it easy for you and get out of your way. You can spend the whole weekend with your new lover. Or is it a mistress? Just think of all the wonderful and unforgettable ecstasy you'll now be able to experience. The kids are with your parents, so have fun. I would say goodbye, but there's nothing good in that word. When we were together, I was often hit on, but I remained faithful because I loved you. I lived under the illusion that you loved me too. How stupid I was. Tonight has shaken me to my core, and I am at a loss for words, not only because of the betrayal, but because of the cruel, cowardly way you planned and executed everything. Wow, who would have thought you were so evil? Amazing. I'm starting a new job in another city and moving next week. My divorce lawyer will be in touch with you. After hitting send, I opened my Facebook account and wrote another message. Since I knew I would have to live with the consequences, I tried to avoid harsh words and stick to the facts. Last night, Linda and I went out with some friends to Morrison's to celebrate Valentine's Day, which we missed because of the weather. It was a special evening. Linda told everyone she was saving all her dances for me. Then she left me on the dance floor with Marc Lavalier. Yes, that Marc Lavalier. Look around. Maybe someone caught what happened on video. Apparently, Mr. Lavalier does this a lot. The worst part for me isn't that Lavalier seems to be running some kind of sinister operation with the help of club employees and teammates, but that Linda was so into it that she came up with an elaborate plan and executed it perfectly. She turned off her phone so that no one could contact her if anything happened to the children. Decide for yourself what kind of mother would do that. I hope you understand that I cannot stay with someone who thinks it's normal to treat her husband this way. Knowing that the court would give her the house and custody of the children, I decided to leave. I don't want to explain my decision over and over again, so I'm posting it here so that everyone knows what happened. So, goodbye. Jim. After changing my status to single and adding with Linda for her followers, I hit send, grabbed my suitcases and boxes, and started packing. It took much less time than I expected. Most of the things in the house belonged to Linda or had been chosen for her. In fact, everything revolved around her. Not that I minded, I loved her, but until that night, I hadn't realized how one-sided our love was. All I had left were a few things, not even that many, a few tools and some electronics. When I was done, exhaustion finally caught up with me, and I collapsed onto the bed, probably for the last time. On Saturday morning, my alarm woke me up at 8, and the rush began. I called several moving companies, hoping that at least one of them wouldn't be overwhelmed with people moving at the end of the month. Maybe it was because of the cold, but the fourth company I called had a warehouse and a truck, so I asked them to come right away and pick everything up. Since I didn't have many things, it went much easier than I expected. While I waited for the movers in their smallest van, I called my parents and told them what had happened. They lived not far from Freudenberg, so their reaction was mixed. They were happy that I would be closer, but sad that I would be alone. They loved Linda and their grandchildren and were saddened by the breakup. "Are you sure about your decision?" my mother asked. "I can't stay with someone who despises me so much. It's not just the cheating, although that's bad enough, but the cruel disrespect. Mom, she looked me in the eye, lied to me, and went to bed with another man. She can't even say she was drunk. I was there. Would you have stayed with Dad if he had done that to you? All I heard in response was a sad sigh. Come home when you can, you hear? Thanks, Mom. I can't wait to see you. On Saturday, my boss answered my call and, as expected, was pleased with my decision. I was offered a substantial raise, but I asked him not to change my salary for now and to wait until the divorce was finalized, at which point he would pay me the accumulated raise as a bonus. He said that was no problem. The company would pay for my move and provide me with free accommodation for 2 months in a furnished apartment they keep for guests and employees who are relocating, and we agreed to meet on Wednesday morning so I could start my new job. I had to inform my team on Monday and hand over my responsibilities to the girl I had chosen to replace me. Until my departure, they would pay for my accommodation at the Marriott Hotel near my work. The truck with my belongings had already left, but I didn't have time to leave the house before my father-in-law, mother-in-law, and children arrived. After greeting them, I put the coffee on. The kids ran across the street to play with their friends, and Linda's mother came up to me. Jim, are you sure you're not overreacting? Mom, look around. She's not here. What kind of woman just walks out to spread her legs for a stranger and doesn't leave any contact information in case something happens to her children? Wait a while and you'll see him bring her back. She'll be wearing the same blue dress she wore last night. Maybe she took a shower this morning so she wouldn't smell, you know what I mean. But I turned so her father could hear. I'm not staying here. I'm leaving. I'm not going to let her and her jerk boyfriend behave like this. They both held their breath. I had never sworn in front of them before. Looking around the house, I gathered my keys. Listen, I'm sorry you saw that. I'm completely innocent. It's all her. Bye, Mom. Bye, Dad. I crossed the street to say goodbye to the kids and drove away with tears in my eyes. Who knows when I'll see them again? I managed to check into the Marriott early, probably because most of their guests are business people who only use the hotel on weekdays. I opened my laptop and logged into the home security system. It had decent resolution and, most importantly for me, an internet connection, so I could watch everything in real time and record it. Just in time. I had just turned on the camera on the porch when I heard a crash. A red Ferrari Daytona convertible pulled up, a classic model worth millions. The jerk got out and walked her to the front door. Probably expecting me, she opened the door and stumbled upon her enraged father. Dad, what are you doing here? This is... I know who he is. Until this morning, I was a big fan of his and didn't believe Jim when he told us. Turning to Laval, he said, You despicable bastard. Get out of here before I do something I'll regret. The bastard snorted loudly. Ha! What army, old man? To everyone's surprise, including mine, Linda's father pulled out some kind of gun and pointed it at Prick. There's your army, you dirty bastard! Get out of here! Prick backed away, raising his hands to his shoulders. He got into his car and drove away. Dad, what got into you? Linda cried. You want to know? I was overcome with disgust. The question is, what overcame you? I can't believe you're my daughter. Go upstairs, take a shower, and put on something decent. If I hadn't seen it with my own eyes, I wouldn't have believed you were such a loose girl. I almost hit Jim when he told me, but unfortunately he was right. I'm ashamed that you're my daughter. But Dad, I said go and wash your filthy body, he thundered. I don't want to hear another word from your fickle lips. Linda burst into tears and quietly climbed the stairs. Did you have to be so cruel? Her mother asked. Are you going to defend her actions? He growled, tucking his gun into his waistband. Don't be crazy. She's still our daughter. To our disgrace, he said, shaking his head in disappointment and reaching for his mug to refill it. When Linda came downstairs, dressed in a simple blouse and jeans, she must have decided to go on the offensive. It was just one night, Dad. Why are you making such a big deal out of it? Where did you get that gun? Aren't you afraid it might go off? Wait a minute! Her father raised his voice again. Are you saying it's okay to cheat on a good husband if it only happened once? It was surprising to overhear their conversation. I had never heard her parents talk to her like that in front of me. It was nice to know they agreed with me, even if they didn't show it. Blood is thicker than water, I guess. Linda's mouth opened like a fish. Where did you hear that nonsense? He turned to his wife. Did you tell her it was okay to cheat? Linda's mother's eyes widened. Never. She must have heard it from someone else. You know me. I would never say anything like that. Linda's father stared at her. Who told you that it's okay to cheat? No one. Why would you think that? I noticed that Linda wasn't defending herself. Because we didn't raise you that way, that's why. And no normal, reasonable person would think it's okay to cheat if it's just a one-time fling. Do you realize what you've done? What? Linda looked around. Where are Emma and Tommy? They're at the Bermans, across the street, but Jim left. He packed all his things and left you, forever. I think he already told you. No, he didn't. In a panic, she took her phone out of her bag and turned it on. It rang, signaling incoming messages, voicemails, and more. Her mother joined the conversation, clearly unimpressed. What? You still haven't turned on your phone? Not only are you sleeping with a stranger, but if Emma or Tommy had been in an accident and ended up in the hospital, who would have called you? What kind of irresponsible mother are you? Her voice rose several decibels. Answer me, you slut. Linda froze in terror. Apparently, it was at that moment that she realized the stupidity of her actions. I thought the children would be safe with Mrs. Porter. Are they okay? Yes, but not thanks to you, her mother replied. You have no idea how disappointed I am in you, Linda. If someone had told me yesterday that I had a daughter like you, I would have beaten them with a rolling pin. Fortunately, Jim kept his cool and brought your children to us. Where's Jim? Linda was on the verge of tears. He's gone, you miserable bitch, her father replied. What don't you understand about the word gone? One of the best men I ever knew. A man of character, he always put you first, loved you, spoiled you, cared for you, always supported you. Reliable, loyal, always looking out for his family. And how did you repay him? By disrespecting him and cheating on him like a classless whore. Now he's gone. Shame on you. You drove him away. Now you're probably going to ask us to help you sort things out. Let me answer before you ask. You're on your own. You made this mess, now clean it up. You wanted to be a single mother? Don't complain to us, you pathetic creature. He sighed deeply. I'm leaving. Wife, are you coming? Linda's mother said nothing, just shook her head slowly, took her husband's hand, and followed him out. Left alone, Linda looked around and picked up the phone. I heard him call my hotel room, but I didn't answer, letting the phone go to voicemail. I didn't need to check because the alarm had forwarded the call straight to voicemail. Hi, Jim, I'm back. Where are you? A few seconds later, I sent a text message. I'm leaving. Where? Why? None of your business. Last night it wasn't your business when you left to have fun with a stranger. But that's in the past. I'm back. We can forget about it and move on. Brilliant idea. I don't love him. I only love you. Really? We'll see. Last time you said you were going to the bathroom. I believed you. And what happened? I'll tell you. I found out for the first time how cold, cowardly, cruel, and despicable you are. Oh yes, I forgot. Liar. Last night you lied to my face. You got away with it, but I didn't. So, I'm sorry I don't believe a word you say anymore. But don't worry. You're free now. You can sleep with your bastard lover whenever you want. Maybe he'll even come over tonight. Give him a call. The phone rang. I didn't answer. Through the security system on my laptop, I heard her say, "Pick up the phone, you pathetic bastard." She really loved me. Yes, of course she did. I turned off my phone, drove to the park, and ran 3 miles on the treadmill. After that, I turned my phone back on. Out of curiosity, I opened the Facebook mobile app to see if there were any responses to my post. There were. A few male friends responded with comments like, "cuckold," but most of them were good-natured expressions of sympathy. Guys probably aren't very good at this kind of thing. Linda's friends were split pretty evenly. Some were outraged by her behavior. Others congratulated her for knocking such a handsome guy off his feet. Most of the women I know were horrified and expressed sympathy. I wondered what Linda would think of the many responses that would inevitably appear on her Facebook page. Quite a few women expressed a desire to comfort me in any way they could, which I found encouraging. But it didn't matter, because I was planning to move 100 miles away in a few days. Still, it was nice to know that I wasn't completely unattractive to the opposite sex. Who knows? Maybe it will come in handy in Freudenberg. I hope Linda understands that the success of our marriage was not solely due to her wonderfulness. Then I called my brother Doug. He hadn't responded to my Facebook post or comments, so maybe he was out fishing or something. "Hey, bro," he said, "how's the single life?" Apparently, he was up to speed. I told him about last night, this morning, the promotion, and the move. Then I added the main reason for my call. "Hey, I need a good divorce lawyer. Who handled Natalie's divorce?" A few years ago, his wife's sister, who still lived in our town, caught her husband with his mistress, and with the help of a court lawyer, took everything he had. "You've gotten me into trouble. Give me a couple of minutes, and I'll send you the information. By the way, Hallie sends her condolences. You know, she was never a big fan of Linda's and is trying not to say, 'I told you so,' but she sends her love." About half an hour later, I received a text message with information about the lawyer. "Natalie asked you to call her now. She's waiting for your call." I called right away. Katie Lawson answered after one ring. After introducing myself, I told her that most of the information was in the Facebook post. She called back 20 minutes later. "What do you want out of the divorce?" "To minimize the hassle," I replied. "I want the kids to stay with me, but I know the court will side with that cheating bitch because she has boobs." Enough of my friends had been through this for me to have a rough idea of what to expect. "Okay, I'm free on Monday at 2. I'll send you a list of what to bring." Saying goodbye to my coworkers on Monday was much harder than I expected. I loved them as people, and they seemed to feel the same way. They were happy for my promotion, but sad to see me go. Training my replacement was quick and easy because she already knew almost everything and had earned the respect of the other employees. My coworkers invited me to lunch at a mid-range restaurant, and my boss called to say I didn't need to come back. After meeting with my lawyer, I settled my affairs at the bank and closed our joint credit cards. After that, I went for another run in the park. Halfway there, my phone rang. It was my brother, inviting me to dinner. When I arrived, his wife, Hallie, was bustling about in the kitchen and pointed to the patio, where Doug was firing up the grill. There were 3 other guys standing there with beers in their hands. I won't go into details, but they didn't look like country club types. Doug introduced us and pointed to the best-dressed guy in the group, Rick. "I invited everyone because I thought you and Rick had something in common." "Yeah?" "Yeah. Laval did the same thing to Rick's wife, also at Morrison's, right after the Sharks missed the playoffs. Same thing. One-night stand, dumped her as soon as he could add another notch to his list. But here's the thing. That notch wasn't for the woman he slept with. It was for the guy he cuckolded and humiliated. Rick only found out during the divorce proceedings. That bastard can get as many single women as he wants, but he avoids them because they don't bring him guys he can humiliate. I don't know. Maybe he was bullied in school, but he's just not right in the head." There was a silence as Doug turned the stakes. "You know what else?" Rick added. "Have you noticed how many penalties he gets for taunting when he plays? He's not a defender, he's an attacker. He has nothing to say, but every time he catches the ball, he looks for the defender he beat to rub it in his face. He clearly has issues with other guys." Doug turned to me. I got you all together to ask what you're going to do about this. Are you going to let him steal your women and rub it in your faces? That woke me up. What do you mean? What are you planning? A sly smile appeared on his face. What happens if, by some unfortunate coincidence, his knees go out? Accidentally, of course. One of Rick's friends grinned. Right. His contract is up. He's a free agent. If he can't play, what's going to happen to the $10 million annual salary he's trying to negotiate in the off-season? I left on Tuesday and spent the night at my parents' house. The next day, I reported to the regional office in Freudenberg and moved into their apartment. No one at the office knew me, and for the next few weeks, I just worked, arriving early and leaving very late. On Friday afternoon, I left early, telling everyone I wanted to look at apartments and houses for sale. On Saturday morning, ESPN and the local media were full of news that Mark Lavalier had been beaten and robbed in the parking lot at Morrison's. Apparently, several thugs in black clothing and masks attacked him when he discovered that all 4 tires of his Ferrari had been slashed and waited for some lackey to bring him his Escalade. Apparently, the security cameras had been disabled. No one has confirmed whether this happened every Friday and Saturday night when he arrived. Thus, the club could maintain a plausible denial if the aggrieved husband accused them of colluding with a serial criminal. According to reports, the robbers took everything he had, including his Rolex and wallet, which reportedly contained several $1,000s. It seems he thought he could beat his attackers until they broke both his knees with a rubber mallet. A woman married to another man accompanied him to his car, but when he had to call another car and a tow truck, she returned to the club. She saw nothing. The police were still investigating. On Sunday, a local newspaper revealed a long history of Ashalom's persecution of married women and asked their wives or husbands to contact the police. On Monday, they reported that 7 couples, either husbands or wives or both, had come forward. This apparently prompted others to speak out. I felt safe and added my details, and by the following Friday there were already 15 cases. By then, all kinds of national media and well-known lawyers had become involved in the case. As it was the off-season for soccer, all the soccer media jumped on the story, happy to feed the nation's insatiable appetite for soccer news. The following week, I stayed at my parents' house. It was nice to be surrounded by people who really cared about me. Before going to bed, I checked my voicemail as usual. And, as usual, Linda had left another message expressing her outrage that I had dared to deprive her of her right to fantasize about sex, which she believed she was entitled to. No remorse, no apology, no understanding. The divorce, surprisingly, went smoothly. The news apparently convinced the judge that counseling wouldn't help. Yes, it was unpleasant that the system treated fathers that way, but at least I was rid of that bitch. The Laval days were over in both senses of the word. Sometimes I see his face in late-night commercials advertising a new type of walker. He looks damn convincing limping around with them. Apparently he was trying to sell used cars, but limping around with a walker, he hardly inspired confidence in buyers, just like his victims in Friday Night Lights. The ad backfired on Linda, and she was fired from her job at the school. It turned out that most of the parents strongly disagreed with her opinion that a married mother had the right to sleep with celebrities as she pleased, and they didn't want their children being taught by an irresponsible fan with no morals. She was left with memories of one night with her now disfigured lover. However, it is difficult to say whether they compensated for the daily toil of a single mother living on a waitress's income. News of the disaster reached Freudenberg, and I had no shortage of women willing to comfort me. It took more than a year to rebuild my self-esteem and confidence, but as I moved forward, the process became more and more exciting. Surprisingly, being a weekend dad strengthened my relationship with Emma and Tommy. They were happy to escape the chaos their home had become, and we had a great time doing fun things like camping, hiking, and biking. We also tried other things like archery, fencing, painting lessons, and much more. At school, they learned from other children how their mother had broken up the family with her narcissism, so they were always on my side. And as happens in life, I ended up becoming the partner of one of my colleagues' sisters, then a friend, and then a neighbor with benefits. Neither of us is in a hurry to formalize our relationship, so for now, we are living happily. And she's totally fine with celebrating Valentine's Day 11 months out of the year, but never in February, because, as we all know, February is a disgusting month.